Or we all freeze to death. All right, we're on the record. I don't know if you can hear me, but I'm going to go ahead and start. Good morning, everyone. It's Tuesday, June 9th, and the time is 9 a.m. The Board of 80 County Commissioners is in session for our open business meeting. We have all three commissioners with us today, and we have quite a few people in the room today, probably a few online as well. Too many to go around, I think, with our masks on. You can't even hear in the back. So we'll just make sure that we have either a sign-in sheet, we do in the back, so make sure that you sign in as you leave if you haven't done so already. Make sure your phones are silenced or turned off at this point. And any changes to the agenda, Madam Clerk? All right, we're going to go ahead then, and we will start with, my agenda go, unfinished business. I'm going to need a motion to remove the unfinished business from the table.
Yes, Madam Chair, I move to remove the unfinished business from the table for consideration.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor state aye.
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 Aye, guys have it, motion carries. Hello. Step procurement.
Yes,
Good morning, Bob, how are you?
I'm well, Madam Chair.
Good, you got your Go Bronco mask on?
I do. I'm representing Boise State this morning. So
Good. You got a
Broncos?
new recruit, an exciting new football recruit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Hopefully we'll have a season this year.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I would say his name, but I don't think I can pronounce it. From Nigeria. It's really complicated but cool name, yeah. Okay, let's go ahead then, and it looks like we have a final ranking and award recommendation, is that right?
Yes, Madam Chair, Commissioners, we do have a, on your agenda this morning is a award recommendation for RFP 20049. And this is the Consultant for Development Impact Fees Study and Capital Improvement Plan Development. And the evaluation team has completed the initial evaluation, but would like additional time for continued due diligence and would like to retable the final rankings and award recommendation to the June 16th, 2020 open business meeting.
Great, any questions? Hearing none, I'll take a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to accept the recommendation of procurement and table the award of RFP 20049 to.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor state aye.
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 Aye, guys have it, motion carries. Thank you, Bob.
Thanks, Commissioners.
Super easy. All right, next we're going to open the public hearing. We have, it looks like 4 resolutions today, and we're going to take up resolution number 2515. This is a resolution appointing members and alternates to the Ada City County Emergency Management Executive Council. Any questions on that one? Okay, I'll take a motion on that.
Madam Chair, I move to approve resolution number 2515 as listed on the agenda.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor state aye.
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 Aye, the ayes have it, motion carries. Next up, resolution 2516. Resolution appointing members and alternates to the Valley Regional Transit Board. Any questions on that? If not, I'll take a motion.
These are just all our liaison things that we
Yep, that we've already talked about. and-
reshuffled,
yep,
exactly.
Yeah.
Then
Testimony, any testimony? Okay.
Anyone want to take our spots?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was gonna
anyone?
say
Yeah,
volunteers.
volunteers as an alternate.
Madam Chair, do you need to close that public hearing?
I can open and close at the
Whole thing?
end, yeah.
Okay. I will go ahead and move to approve resolution number 2516 as listed on the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor state aye.
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 Aye, the ayes have it, motion carries. Next up, resolution 2517, sole source procurement for LCF3 firearms and tool marks comparison microscope. Any questions or anyone to provide testimony?
I'm assuming this is a ballistics related thing for the sheriff's office.
Sheriff's office, yeah. I don't think anyone is here from the sheriff's office. Bob?
Yes, Madam Chair, Commissioners, that is exactly right. It's to measure the lands and the grooves of the bullets.
Do I get access? I'm just.
No. No. Hearing
Madam-
no other testimony, we'll go ahead with the motion.
Madam Chair, I move to approve resolution number 2517 as listed on the agenda.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor state aye.
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 Aye, the ayes have it, motion carries. Next up, resolution 2518 for procuring water pipe materials and installation on the open market. And I think anyone here to testify on this one? We've talked about this a few times.
This was the exorbitantly high bid that we
Yes.
decided not to take.
Yes.
Dawn is on the WebEx. Do you want to say anything?
Dawn, did you care to comment on this?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just would like to add my support report to operations and procurement. I think that this is a good call, and we appreciate the board's support in moving forward.
Great, thank you, Don. Appreciate that input. Any further testimony? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to approve resolution number 2518 as listed on the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor state aye.
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 Aye, the ayes have it, motion carries. We're going to close the public hearing and move into proclamations. We are so excited. We have a proclamation today designating June 30th, 2020 as Lynn Glick Day. It's super exciting, and I'm going to have Commissioner Lachiondo read the proclamation.
Well, what an honor. And we have Jan here, who I know will have some things to say after this, but I will get it started.
Where's Lynn?
Lynn, this is a surprise, so she'll be here later today, but we're doing this as a surprise to her. We're creating a video, and Heather's doing it right now, so she will, we can't do an in-person.
Go, Lynn!
So since we can't do in-person, we are taking the time to create a huge
Aw.
long video. We've got prior employees,
Great.
retired employees who have spoken, so this will be part of what we're doing.
Oh, awesome,
Very cool.
okay.
Very cool.
Super, make sure you get a close-up then of Commissioner Lachiondo.
That's right.
Let's not do that, but, okay, so, whereas the Board of Ada County Commissioners is honored to recognize and congratulate Ada County Prosecuting Attorney's Office employee Lynn Glick for her 34 years of dedicated service as she retires, and whereas Lynn's career as the prosecuting attorney's office began as a calendar clerk, Lynn quickly rose to a critical leadership position in the office as the Finance and Administration Division Manager. And whereas, through all the years and the many office changes, there has been one constant: Lynn's dedication to the community, her dedication to the office, and her professionalism. Lynn was constantly striving for excellence every day of her entire career. And whereas, Lynn is more than just an employee of the Ada County Prosecuting Attorney's Office, she is a friend and mentor. And whereas, Lynn should know that the Ada County Prosecuting Attorney's Office will not be the same without her. Lynn, you will be missed. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Ada County Commissioners does hereby proclaim June 30th, 2020 as Lynn Glick Day in Ada County, and urges all of Lynn's fellow employees, friends, and family to join us in congratulating her and wishing her the best of luck in retirement. Yay. Okay.
We're so proud to have Lynn for all of these years. We're lucky, as much as we are anything else, to have an exemplary employee like Lynn. I know, Jan, that you're ready to say a few words here, and if you want to go ahead and come on up,
Yep,
that would
absolutely.
be wonderful.
Thank you.
Heather, do you want to come up behind here so you can capture her?
Oh, that's a great idea. Thank you.
So your other duties as
Yep.
a sign.
I know.
That's
Right.
Other duties as a sign.
And we'll put our masks on so you can take yours off.
Oh, that'd be great. Thank you. Thank you so much. I really, Madam Chair, Commissioners, thank you for doing this proclamation for Lynn. I can't think of anyone who deserves it more than Lynn Glick. It's a little emotional to think about losing Lynn because she has been a 34-year employee, and she was working in our office when I started, so she mentored me. And in particular, when I took over in 2014 and started, really digging in, learning the budget, Lynn was invaluable to me, and I couldn't have done this without her. And although it's hard to say goodbye to her, I really want the community to know that she has done so much in service of our community to keep the public safe. Working behind the scenes, she's not someone who, comes out and is wanting attention. If anything, she doesn't want to have attention. She's very humble. That's why we wanted to recognize her in this way, to surprise her. If I brought her here today for this, she would have been crawling under the table here because she would have been so embarrassed. So I know she'll appreciate that we're doing it this way. This is exactly what she would want. And on behalf of our office, thank you to the commissioners for supporting this proclamation. And Lynn, thank you for your dedicated service. We're going to miss you more than I can even say. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
socially distant round of applause.
Well, we miss you, Lynn, and we wish you the very best in the future. Thank you. Thank you, Jan. Thank you, Heather. Wow, 34 years. You're almost there, Phil.
No,
All All right, next we have operations, and we have a change order. And this
Started
is,
working here when you were two.
oh,
right?
what's that?
Did we
Yeah,
adopt-
proclamation, we need a
Did we
motion for
adopt?
that.
Yeah.
That's right.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the proclamation as listed on the agenda and dedicate June 30th, 2020 as Lynn Glick Day.
Second?
We have a motion, a second. All those in favor state aye.
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 Aye, the ayes have it, motion carries. Next, we have operations, and we have change order number 1. Do we have anyone here to talk about the change order? It's just it's a decrease? Okay, go ahead, sure, come on up.
So, come up.
Why not? You're here.
Did you say come up?
Come on up.
Great.
We'd love to hear that we're saving money.
Oh, okay. Generally, we set a contingency in a job, and for that job, we set a $20,000 contingency, and, we just didn't use it all. So, everything went well and straightforward, and so we just didn't have a lot of charges towards the contingency.
And what project was this?
Courtroom 200?
200.
Okay.
Are we gonna have a ribbon cutting on this courtroom?
Eventually,
Don't know.
yeah.
So at some point when COVID allows, yeah,
Yeah.
restrictions allow. Great, okay, thank you. Any questions? Okay, let's go ahead then. Now entertain a motion. Thank you.
Okay. Madam Chair, I move to approve change order number 1 as listed on the agenda and authorize the chair to sign the documents on behalf of the board.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor state aye.
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 Aye, the ayes have it, motion carries. Next up, I'll need a motion for the licenses.
Where are we?
I've got it. Want
Yeah,
to?
I have.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Madam Chair, I move to ratify and approve the licenses previously signed as listed on the agenda, including 11 license renewals. And I move to approve the remaining licenses listed on the agenda, including 1 catering permit, and authorize the chair to sign the documents on behalf of the board.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor state aye.
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 Aye, the ayes have it, motion carries. All right, clerk's office. Man, you've had a lot on your plate. Hi, good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair.
Bill?
Thank you, commissioners. That is true. I cannot recall a busier time. With 10 years of experience in the main part of the office, I can't recall a busier time just to overlap. Normally the election is in May, not in June. Budgets, everything. You guys are seeing me a lot for a lot of reasons. I don't know that, I think we briefly introduced Saul back in March, but Saul is our elections director. He came on board back in January, as you might appreciate. So one of the things that we have today is to certify the election results to make them official. I just wanted to highlight just the work that Saul, the entire elections team, talk about being gifted just an absolutely challenging experience. I think Saul has some numbers he can share in terms of what we had to put into shifting to an all-male election. We're certainly not built for it. It's a really great thing that we got to see the turnout that we did for this election, but also if you work in the elections office, it's been daunting. Just because the huge, I wanted to be able to share my screen, just some of the pictures and some of the things that we faced, but just on last Tuesday alone, we had over 16,000 ballots come in. Which means
One day.
That was just
One
one day. So in one day, that one day puts us probably that's more than I think top third of counties in the state received for the entire election.
Wow.
Right, that was our one day, and when you picture it, it led to an extremely late night. So Saul and I think left the building a little after 4:30 on Wednesday after it. So a whole group of us had worked 21 hours straight just trying to handle the election. And a lot of that is all of those ballots. That means we had to open all the envelopes, had to check every single signature, all in a very short time frame, right?
Yeah.
And that's just that one day, let alone all the rest. It was exciting to see we had over 96,000 votes cast for this election, which is great. It ended up being a 36.2% turnout. Both of those numbers are records in terms of recent memory for a primary election. For sure, ballots issued, it is a record. Just statewide, it was a record as well. So it's great to see that kind of participation. It'll be very interesting to see how that continues or what the long-term implications are. We're already, unfortunately, as much as it seems like this election's over, Saul and I have already been having the conversations. about 3/4 of the people who requested ballots this
Right.
election have requested them for August and November.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have, no matter how the election looks, we're gonna have a huge mail presence in the November election. And so it's just, I really want to highlight Saul's efforts, the team's efforts. I mean, there's some people, Rachel is a woman who oversees the absentees normally, like we kind of divide up responsibilities. And poor Rachel, you know, she was prepared for like 3,000 absentees under normal circumstances. And instead of 3,000, she got 96,000. Or well, actually, she got 130,000. Yeah, that's an important correction. We had just over 74% of the absentees come back timely. We certainly have had more come back after the fact, but with everything, the lawsuits, everything else, just a major undertaking. I think, Saul, you said you had numbers in terms of just the man hours.
Yeah, so we collectively have many more than 5,000 hours into this, not counting election staff, which is 10 full-time staff, many of which, you know, we're putting in 50 to 60-hour weeks for the last 8 weeks. We've lived in a very alternative reality on some level in elections. As things were shutting down, we were just continuing to scale. For a little bit of perspective, you know, that's over 30 full-time staff members for over a month, in addition to our 10. So you can just see the scaling that had to take place.
You helped out our friends in Canyon County too.
We did,
know,
yeah.
So,
Yep, we jumped in and helped them out. It was truly unprecedented. Our highest previous request was around 49,000 in 2008. Return was around 48,000, and as Phil mentioned, we hit 96,000 return this time and 129,000 plus issue. So truly monumental. I can't say enough to the clerk's office and the court support. We had a lot of those folks there with us all the way through, including some of those very long days at the end. So
Yeah, it truly was all hands on deck. I mean,
Yeah,
we've
so-
had, in terms of court, so in-court clerks, you know, Judge Bale's clerk was out there a number of days, others, in-court clerks and the court clerks especially, some of them, it's funny for them to be back here because they spent 2 months away at elections, as opposed to being home. They were just hunkered down in the warehouse, spreading everybody out as
I was
best
gonna
we
ask
could.
where you were located, in the warehouse?
Yeah, we were all over the building. So we had, in order to attempt to maintain social distancing while handling all
Yeah,
this
like,
work,
how do you
I mean,
logistically pull this
thankfully
off?
we have a warehouse, right? So we have lots of square feet out there, and so we just spread people across all of it, trying to maintain safety measures, and thankfully we're able to keep everybody healthy, you know, just like everything else in the county in the midst of it. We used indigent folks. It was truly pulling out every stop to make
How
this
do you
happen.
prepare for November now? Really not knowing and understanding,
Yeah.
you know, exactly what that's gonna
if
look
I
like.
could follow on that, I guess since I've had a number of those questions come at me, which I'm not, you know, as prepared to answer. So to the degree you're able to, I know you're close to the conversations about what that decision process will look like. Is that something you're prepared to somewhat answer on the record?
Yeah, sure. I've been that's been probably the number one question I've gotten since election day is what does November look like? I mean, interesting, for planning questions, one of the things, we're in a difficult spot in the sense that West Ada is considering an election for August. If you're asking us, we desperately don't want that because our team just needs a break. Like we can only, because one of the things that as much as we emphasized what happened in May happens right on the heels of March. We had a March election for the presidential preference primary and the staff never got a break, right? And elections is very much a amp way up, and then it usually, there's some rest. But we've just kind of been one marathon to the next. So that's one of the challenges. And interestingly enough too, August is not an election that will probably get the same level of attention from the governor's office that others do. So there's a question of how August would be conducted. Because right now the orders that exist only apply to the May election. So presumably all the normal polling places, everything would apply to any future election. I do not suspect that we will have an all-mail election for November. It just based on the feedback that we received during it, everything else, the pressures that you guys are all familiar with.
Lawrence Denny's been on the record stating he wants to really get it reopened.
Yeah, I think it will be some sort of hybrid. We could see, depending on the circumstances in terms of COVID and everything else, consolidating polling places.
Okay.
We were set to roll out our electronic poll books in May. Obviously we didn't because we didn't have any polling places. So we're looking at what can we do to leverage those for any response as we move forward. But we also know that, I mean, we'll probably issue 100,000 absentee ballots on the first go, which is probably close to 50% of what the likely turnout will be for the election. Just based, I mean, 203,000 was our previous, in 2016 was how many people voted. So that's for seatbelt. The one challenge is, as much as we say this was tough and this was a lot of work, presidential elections are always way more work.
Yeah.
Like just, we have a constitutional amendment on the ballot, so odds are it's a 2-page ballot. There's a bunch of factors that are going to weigh on how November is going to work. Thankfully, we don't have to have anybody pick, right, which party or anything else like that. It is simpler in that sense.
Yeah, I think that, we've had this conversation, the part I continue to worry about, and I guess we just stand ready to help you in whatever way we can. It's just thinking about your poll workers, and they tend to be retired, they tend to be older. It's, they don't necessarily need the job. And so, as we get closer, if we start to see another spike, even if they had committed prior, will they back away, and what kind of contingency we may need. And I think that's the part that maybe gets lost in the public discussion, that we are so reliant on those employees to conduct in-person elections, and that's a major factor.
Yeah, we would anticipate, I think those are all spot on. We would anticipate using over 1,200 people in the polls. Even if there isn't a rise in cases, we still may have poll workers who just don't want to take the risk.
Right.
I mean, at any given polling location, especially in a presidential election, you're having probably 2,000 people come through a single facility, all touching the same materials, and as much as we might try to clean things,
Not
like
ideal.
it's just it's a rare instance where you gather that many strangers, right. Together, and so I think we'll have to work through what that will be.
Yeah.
In addition to people, poll workers, another area that will be a challenge is polling places.
That
Part of
don't
what
wanna
motivated
open.
this was facilities just saying,
No, thank
sorry,
you.
no thanks. Like, and people, we often get a lot of pushback, and people say, well, why don't you just vote here? And it's like, well, private property rights are strong in Idaho, and we can't just force ourselves into somebody's facility, right? And we're always at the whim. And certainly in the past, Saul took early on, so this would have been end of February to put it in time, moving us out of all assisted living centers and senior centers, because we do use those as polling places.
I didn't even think about
And
that.
those,
Yeah.
I mean, so we're using common space.
Back to the fairgrounds, back to
Well,
Expo.
yeah, I was gonna wonder.
I
I wondered,
see what you charge, Bob.
I wondered if it wasn't time
Goat
to
show
go
slash
back
voting.
Well,
to.
we have to earn it, Phil, we don't get it handed to us.
Yeah. I wondered if it wasn't time to go back to, if you're a PC, then you host a polling place in your garage.
If
I mean,
only.
because that used to be,
Jeez, yeah.
that used to be
Bob,
the
you
days
ready for
that I grew up in.
Those, and it's safe to say that used to be the days.
It was, yeah.
And in this election, this is one of those things that we had the Department of Justice from DC come verify that we were meeting ADA accessibility standards.
Right.
That's one of the burdens that we have.
Yeah.
We worked closely with them. I know there was scrutiny on other counties. So, I mean, all the
Right.
typical challenges didn't go away because we were voting by mail.
Every driveway's ADA compliant. I mean, that's,
Yeah,
again,
definitely
back to the
not.
garages.
No, I guess just
Yeah.
as I think, maybe less so in Idaho than in other places, absentee has become very politicized and partisan, but sort of under that question are all these very real logistical questions this coming November. And I hope that the powers that be can sort of, to the degree possible, push aside the partisan or whatever questions and just look at the logistics and the safety of whether we can make a go of it.
To that
Initiatives, yeah.
Yeah, to that point, a question for you collectively that we wanted to ask. Right now, we are in a position we need to be ordering envelopes for the future. There's
Right.
a fear there's going to be a national envelope shortage
Yeah.
due to all mail like
Toilet paper?
And then,
yeah,
Election on.
Paper
that's
products.
election envelopes. The state of California has already declared they will do an all mail election for November. So
Okay.
just there's a surge of people who like LA usually doesn't actually do that or very much mail, but just LA alone will
Right.
suck up the world's energy. And so
Wow.
a question for us is we added prepaid postage on the returns. That was unique. We typically don't do that. It was paid out of your general postage account for that. We paid the postage on the outgoing, but you guys paid the postage on the ongoing. Is that something you would like to continue for August or November?
I'd
guess
say
that's just a
so. I
question.
think we need to ensure, we don't want, what I so appreciate about that, even though for many of us, it's a stamp, right? No big deal, but you don't want any sort of impression that there's any barrier to voting and having to pay to put it on. I would say yes, but
Yeah.
we need to kind of look at where it come from.
I would have no objection to that. I mean, the
Yeah.
time and energy it's gonna take somebody to drive to their polling place, to and from their polling place, be there, go through that. If they choose and opt in that, I think it's a good trade-off. And somewhat to that end, I'm curious, and you may not have the answer now, but down the road, I'd like to know, from a cost standpoint, I know you had extra workers and things like that to do all this, but there's obviously expense in, generating polling places everywhere. I'd be curious if you have any idea now or in the future, if you can, when life is normal again, kind of give us some idea as to the cost shift in doing an all mail-in election.
We generally know now that for the most part, they offset each other.
Okay.
The cost of specific poll workers is one of our largest expenses.
Okay.
We didn't have all those poll workers, so that went into the mail. So for the most part, we're fortunate too, there's additional CARES Act funding specific for our election response.
Right.
Actually, we're gonna be looking at how we leverage some of the CARES funds more for our response for November. I mean, a lot of May was just us reacting, right? Whereas November, in terms of like receiving ballots and some other, we may be looking at some equipment purchases to handle this volume.
Okay.
Just because it's gonna get bigger and it was already
Right.
such a big undertaking.
So if you pulled postage out of that, would the mail-in have been slightly less than operating all the polling places, or is it still very close?
I think how about we have to account for all that, so we'll follow up with real
Okay,
numbers for
yeah.
you. Because I think even for us, I mean, we can make rough estimations, but
Yeah.
we'll
I'm just
follow
curious.
up.
I'm just curious. Where the postage fits in. Is it
Sure.
cheaper to go one way or the other?
Yeah, it's surprisingly more expensive, anything that we do in elections than most people think, in terms of, because of the heightened standard for security, the quality of the print, the complex, I mean, that's one of the challenges we faced is, heck, you guys are all involved in politics. So people think of mailers and like the postcard chasers or something, or working with AutoSort. Like our mail pieces are like 8-piece mailings that average postal plate can't handle. Like these are
Right.
complicated mailing, and then the accuracy that the right ballot went into each individual
Right.
one. So there's a lot more cost and complexity than
Yeah.
just a typical mailing. But
Well, the other, to your point about the envelopes though, I mean, they don't go bad. So, if you felt that you needed to kind of pre-purchase some things, knowing that we may be in a scenario where each state is competing for items again,
that's where just wanted to ask you about the prepaid
Yeah, what was the
postage,
cost-
because
what was
we
the
actually
cost?
print that on the envelopes.
Yeah, what was the
Yeah.
cost?
We spent $60,000,
Yeah,
right?
just underneath 60,000.
Yeah.
I would anticipate that we will have a larger absentee turnout in November, so we will see that number uptick.
Yeah.
But when you think about it, it's about 75 cents a ballot for
Yeah.
return cost.
Yeah.
is, how
So
that
that's
works.
just for the return?
Yeah.
The 60,
Um,
okay.
Yeah.
And depending on August, the only thing I'll say is, it's been my experience through life that as voters get used to something, taking things away can be difficult.
right,
And so that's just something that I would put out there
right.
as a consideration for.
Call it a COVID stamp.
Yeah.
But
All
we
right.
are in the process and working on those material requisitions right now, and we're looking at about 175,000.
And this should be all reimbursable, I think, or not?
This will be, yes. As we get towards November, I anticipate most of this will be. I mean, but I also think what Saul's pointing out is the more we make it a habit, the more the
Right.
expectation starts to get
Right.
built in.
Yeah.
And so we just want to balance that.
You'll have to do the PR the following year and say, you have to put a stamp on it this time.
And it'll be interesting
Yeah.
to see how people's behavior change. What's interesting, prior to this election, we were seeing a decline in participation via mail-in voting, which a much greater rise for in-person early
voting.
voting. And
Yeah.
that is where we are kind of designed to go towards. And so this will just be an interesting inflection point.
Well, I think the timing being in November, and we're looking if there is a spike, it's probably going to be September, October. People are back in school and have been traveling and whatnot, and if you look at what's going on around the world, like Poland, for example, seeing that huge uptick just from that one ordination. So I would be all for having the stamps and sending them out and keeping people at home as much as possible, and not even going out to buying a stamp is helpful.
So just to shift the formal piece of today, we do need to, you should have a motion for the results.
Yep.
Before you do that though, I want to just speak to a couple of things related to the results. This election, despite all its successes, was not without its flaws. We did, as you know, we had some mailings that we had to remail. We worked through all that. That added we learned definitely don't make mistakes because it added a ton of work on us. But also a couple things in terms of the results that I want to note, because this is not as clean as I would normally hope. One, we just identified yesterday, this is part of our post kind of cleanup and looking into things. There is one instance of a precinct committeeman in precinct 1710 where there was some confusion at the filing window. The person had been in precinct in 1710 when they filed, but they re-registered in precinct 1711, and therefore they're not eligible to be seated.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not part of your results. We've contacted the person, let them know. So we've cleaned that up, but just want to acknowledge that. And then the other part is there is one anomaly that we are pretty sure we have a decent idea. There's an anomaly in the numbers between when we compare the number of absentees that we received, so the names that we received, versus the number of ballots that we counted. In precinct 2014, there's 107 ballots more counted than names listed, but there's also by coincidence a batch that was scanned that also matched at 107 ballots. It's our impression that we just didn't receive that, like we didn't scan those in like we should have. The problem for us, we would normally have an answer for you today prior to accepting these results, but a law was passed this legislative session with an emergency clause that says we can't touch the ballots until the contest period is over. So we know
We
it.
can't look at them.
We can't. Yeah, we know exactly what we need to do. We know right where we need to go to do it, but we are prohibited from touching them. And so it's just
So wait,
going to
we
be.
have to certify and
Yeah.
then you can do it?
I'm publicly acknowledging this. Like, if anybody wants, it will not, no matter what, it would not change any outcomes for anything, right? So this is fortunate in this instance. We think we have a pretty good theory on what it is, and we would normally try to clean this up, but we can't. We will go into it after the contest period ends, which is 20 days after the state certifies these results.
Okay.
So we're aware of it. I know it feels strange to ask you to do it, but really the way the law is written out, there's no other way for us other than to certify these. If someone takes issue with it, they can, and we'll work through that.
So that's an opportunity for legislative discussion potentially.
Oddly, yeah, it's a double-edged because it was just passed through the legislature this year because of some contentious elections and recounts where they didn't want anybody touching the ballots, and we would have been opening boxes of ballots. So in this situation, it makes perfect sense. We should go in and access them. In other situations, it makes sense we shouldn't. And so,
Well, I'm just wondering if we make the motion, if we shouldn't have a caveat identifying the ballots in question.
we believe, or it's our inclination that the results are correct. That what we'll find when we do it is we'll confirm that they are correct.
There'd be a follow-up certification of results or something, right? I mean,
Only if there's a contest or a
Okay.
recount or
Okay.
something where that would be, then we would have new results that would be certified, but otherwise these will stand as the official results.
Well, with that, I guess we're ready to make a motion.
I know you always hope for no close races. because,
This was actually a great election, other than we have a coin toss tomorrow. But that was fine. I mean, coin toss is always fun.
Wait,
all
where
right.
do you have a coin toss?
Madam,
Precinct committeeman race.
Oh, God.
In this one person, it's their second coin toss.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Moore.
pursuant to Idaho Code 34-1205 and 34-1410, which requires the Board of County Commissioners to canvass election results, I move to certify the May 19th, 2020 primary election West Ada School District levy, Cuna Fire District special tax levy results as presented by the clerk and as suggested with the caveat that we may have an update on one ballot issue.
I will second that.
The motion is second. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye, guys have it. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I know you guys are just still grinding, so, yeah. I don't know
We'll
what
be
you're,
here with
what
you
you're
this
feeding them
afternoon,
over
ready to
there.
go.
Chocolate, giving
2014.
them chocolate. Yeah, appreciate it.
Your saving grace is you don't have to hang out with us for BOE. That's
That is
Bob,
true.
so, yeah.
Yeah. I saw you on there,
Yeah.
committee man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, when I was canvassing, when I was going through the results.
Oh.
Yeah,
It's an interesting story, I'll tell you that sometime.
okay, yeah. All right, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion for the claims journal.
Madam Chair, I move to authorize payment of claims on the Claims Journal dated June 5th, 2020.
Aye, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor state aye.
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 Aye, the ayes have it, motion carries. Lloyd's trying to
I
throw
was
us
on the
there.
wrong,
I'll go ahead next with the motion for personal action forms.
Go ahead.
Okay, Madam Chair, I move to approve the personnel action forms as listed on the agenda, including 2 introductory period pay completion, pay increases, and 1 leave with pay, and that the summary sheet remain on file in the Commissioner's office.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor state aye.
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 Aye, the ayes have it, motion carries. Next up, Assessor's Office. Bob, come on up. We get to see a lot of you these days.
Yes, it was nice seeing you.
Yes.
Madam Chairman, Commissioners, I just want to make a very brief report about the appeals received so far. A week ago, yesterday, well, as of yesterday, we had 72 appeals filed here, and we had 94 last year.
Okay.
And I just mentioned that,
A little bit under.
we have some slightly fewer appeals this year than we had last year.
So
That's
far,
what the
yeah.
indications are. The 2 areas where we're getting a lot of phone calls are the bench and the north end, which typically, the bench in the last 2 years has been, it receives higher evaluations. And then the north end typically is always very problematic. It has been for over 20 years.
Not surprising.
No, not at all. But, so I just wanted to just brief you on that.
Okay,
We still
thank
have
you.
2 more weeks before BOE starts.
The 22nd is the deadline, correct?
Yes.
And these are simply appeal filings. They don't mean all those people are coming before us.
Madam Chairman, that's correct. Probably, maybe 15% will actually result in hearings. Something that's different this year, though, is we have telephone hearings. And so
Yeah,
that's the wild
yeah.
card, and I'm anxious to see how that plays out.
Yeah.
His staff does a remarkable job.
No, and that-
It's just, yeah, getting things resolved, so. They end up in front of us, it's not that you haven't given it everything that you can to get it resolved, we know that.
No, we really do. We try very hard. We probably are able to resolve about 90% of them before they ever come to a hearing. 85, 90%.
Bob, and I don't think Elizabeth is still here, but is there any sort of last push on property tax reduction to tell people they can still do it? Is that something we can help with?
So is that property tax
Sorry,
reduction?
reductions.
Is there, any sort of last push to tell?
We have not planned on. We could certainly throw something together.
I was gonna say, maybe just one more social media
Let's
push
talk to
or
Elizabeth.
something. 'cause-
We'll do it
Yeah,
together
Yeah.
with Elizabeth, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
because the deadline's Friday? No,
Is Monday, I believe.
Monday. Okay.
yeah, it'd be good to get
Yes,
something up
Monday.
this
One
week.
last, especially as people have their assessments now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the fun part about it this year is they get the assessment and they can still file for the property tax reduction program.
Yeah, and the information was on there, so
Yeah.
great job this year, yeah.
Okay,
We'll get in touch with Elizabeth and make that happen.
perfect.
Yeah, thank you. All right, next up, Treasurer's Office. It looks like Tim is here. Good morning, Tim. How are you?
Madam Chair.
I
Commissioners.
apologize, I left my report upstairs.
Yeah, well, I'll just briefly review it, and that we were in compliance with our policy. The only significant thing we did in May was we had a new agency bond purchase for $3 million. That one was a callable type bond, and so there's a possibility that could get called in the future depending on what rates do. It had a 0.75 coupon, and right now the 2 and 3 years, which is what we typically look at, is between 0.25 and 0.35. So they're the yields that you're getting on bonds these days are very low. So that one, the reason we chose to go with that, it matures in 2025, does have a call next May. So we could get that called, but the yield on it was significant enough where it seemed like a good purchase for us. One thing I was maybe wanted to highlight, I believe you get this, I brought the full report here instead of the condensed commissioner's report, and I think you get this blue chart. I'm sure you've seen that and probably know very well what it indicates. I was reviewing it, and it's we're 8 months now into our fiscal year. We've received a little over 2.8 million in investment income on our portfolio. And if that trend continues, we might be somewhere in investment income at the end of the fiscal year right around 3.7 million.
Does that represent around 2%?
It's a little less than that.
A little less,
Yeah. And what I'd have to do is really look back at all the months and then come up with an average monthly amount.
Average ROI, yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, this month here, our portfolio was about 200 million. The book value, 199 million. The market value, a little over 201 million. And the reason the market value is up is because, as you're probably aware, anytime bond prices go up, yields go down, and vice versa. So ours, with bond prices going down in the current market, our market value has gone up. And so it's unrealized income. We don't trade bonds, so we don't ever sell them. And so we look at the yield to maturity, and that's always indicated on the front page. And right now it's at 1.57. So that, although it sounds low historically, these days that's anybody who could get that rate would be very happy in the government investing area. So I think that's all I have.
So in addition to the yield, if you could run the ROI, the annual, maybe take a look at that.
For the fiscal year?
For the fiscal year, yeah.
Okay,
It'd
sure.
be interesting to see if we start tracking that.
Sure. Yeah.
Good, I remember the good old days, getting 8, 10%, 12%. Now it's like 0, point, yeah.
Yeah, times have changed.
They have, yeah. So hopefully we'll get into a position at some point if the legislators are willing to allow us to invest in corporate bonds as well as government bonds, and that may bump the yield or the ROI up 1%, which would be significant for a portfolio.
With this amount of money, that does make a big difference over time.
Huge difference, yeah. So we'll put Phil to work on that this year over there.
That's got that. You're in Tim's capable hands.
Thank you, Tim. Anything else from the treasurer's office? Okay, thank you, appreciate it. All right, next up, landfill, rates billing for county offices. We have Kurt here. Kurt, you want to come on up? What do you have for us today? Landfill rates billing for county offices.
Madam Chair, so in part of our new rate resolution that we did, we were talking about discussing any of the free or reduced rates. So we came up with applications. So we were sending applications out to everyone. And so one of the questions that came up with the other departments within the county and kind of getting a decision on if, they need to do the applications and to be approved or are they going to get charged the regular landfill fees?
Yeah,
speak
I'm
to
kind
this.
of
So-
behind the curve on this one.
Yeah,
Bring us
so
up
just to
speed.
sort of circle back, as we did the cost of service study, and really maybe sort of more of a larger philosophical issue, I think it's really important for us to utilize, I'll take this off.
Yeah.
Cost-centered accounting so that we actually know where our true costs are occurring. And certainly with landfill being an enterprise fund, I understand why it was done in the past to give free rates to our departments, but I don't think it's a very accurate reflection of what the true cost is to landfill. So I would be much more comfortable with our departments and offices who need to utilize the landfill actually paying for that cost, and then we will budget it and away we go. I think it's sort of an unfair subsidy from other ratepayers.
Well, like you said, you can't do true cost accounting without doing it that way. So who's most impacted by this in terms of our departments or?
So in fiscal year 2019, not counting ACHD, the operations department, Expo Idaho,
A lot of trash out there.
And a lot of that is the fair. And then, you know, following them is the operations and then parks and waterways.
Okay. So how does that impact your budget, Bob? If you were to pay for, do we have any amounts, or do you know the general amount?
I'm having trouble hearing you.
Do you know the general amount? Come on up. Do you know the general amount that you spend?
We have it. It looks like it's about 20 or 7,000.
Oh, is this?
That's average over the last 3 years. So last
Oh, here we
year, it was $8,360,000.70.
Okay. ACHD is the one we're gonna have to have some conversations with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any objections or any comments on, did you hear what we're saying, that we're going to just have the county departments pay what it is?
Okay.
So we can just make sure that we're doing proper, open, transparent cost accounting. We can figure out what the true cost is, so then we can plan for future landfill needs.
Yeah.
I think we can absorb that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No worries, yeah.
Or pass it on to those that have the agreements to use the
Yeah,
expo, you know,
Yeah.
use the area, because you're really not throwing away, probably most of it's not your trash.
No.
It's other people's trash.
Yeah.
And
A
so.
lot of that at fair time is animal waste that we take up to for bedding and so forth, so. The other part of that, we may need to look at our rates that we charge and just build that into there.
Right,
Which is what
yeah.
I would like to probably do.
You just may need to make
You
some
have this?
adjustments on
I
that.
don't. My copy to keep?
you bet.
Thank
And
you.
then Bruce, it's about 16K for you. So similarly, as we look, I don't know that this was included in.
That was a 3-year
Okay.
average.
For your
so-
average, so I don't know if that's included or not. That looks a lot more disparate over time. 2018, we had, 1,400 tons, and then 2019, 78 tons. So it would just depend year by year.
that is for records destruction.
That is not.
We haul stuff up there.
Okay,
That's not. That was the elections stuff is not on this report because we've never tracked that.
okay,
And then also.
I think you said records,
Records destruction.
records,
We haul boxes.
Like
destruction.
documents and,
No, that's
No,
not.
it's not.
That's
It's not.
not generally what that would be. I think part of it is, I think it was absorbed, like a lot of your, the construction, when was your office rebuilt? 18? 17, 18?
Okay.
Yeah, so a lot of that is through the operations department comes up, so that big year was probably a lot of that.
okay.
Well, I would feel more comfortable if, have you had a conversation with each of the department heads and elected officials, or at least the department heads on this? To just get input and see if there's any caveats or any
No, we have not.
concerns? I would just assume they have a conversation first before we do anything on this end.
Well, I think the only question is that we have budget happening, so
Timing wise.
it's a timing issue. I thought we already had this a few months ago. We had this conversation, so maybe it didn't trickle out to
It's the
departments.
first Bruce has
Okay.
heard of it, first Bob's heard of it, so I
Okay.
just think we need to at least give you the opportunity the next day, if you can get a day or two.
Yeah.
Get in touch with everyone and bring it back to us, just to make sure on Thursday,
Okay.
possibly.
Mhm.
Yeah. Put it on, Sandy. Thursday, yeah, I just wanna make sure everybody's been able to have a conversation with Kurt,
Okay.
look at the numbers, figure out how they're going to absorb it.
Right.
And if they have any concerns, bring it back to the board.
And then
before-
separately, I know a letter was sent. I know we have some other maybe legal questions we need to talk through. A letter was sent to ACHD, I believe, about this a few months ago. Am I missing that or no?
We sent out a letter to everyone about having to fill out an application and reapply for any kind of free or.
I'm sure
discounted.
ACHD is waiting to have a conversation with us before
Well,
one.
I'm sure they are, but
Yeah, it looks like they will.
but similarly, they're in budget mode, so we don't wanna.
Sandy, can you
Yeah.
have Judy reach out and set up a conversation, at least a phone conference with Bruce
Yes.
Wong, please, with the board, and we can at least have that conversation on the phone.
Madam Chair, there may be unintended consequences with that.
Yeah, this is, I'm sure, entwined.
Back in the day, where
All right, well, I don't know that that's appropriate anyway, so.
Yeah.
We should be paying impact fees just like everybody else.
But we need to have an
so.
open conversation
Yeah.
as a board with all the information. So if we
Okay.
could have, Bruce, if you can get us that information, that would be great. Is there anything else that we have with ACHD that we know of in terms of trade or kind or anything
I think
like
we're
that?
gonna have, we need to have that discussion in legal, and then we'll,
So you're the trash lady. You want to take the lead on that? Get it?
I think it's already being teed up,
Okay.
so.
Yeah, that's significant amount. So I know we'll need to have some conversations. Okay, anything else for landfill rates? There's nothing to vote to take a motion on here. Just approval, no, that's it. Okay, good. Thank you.
All right.
All right, approval of minutes. I'll need a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the minutes as identified on the agenda and authorize the chair to sign the documents on behalf of the board.
Second?
We have a motion, a second. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye, the ayes have it, motion carries. Next up, Expo. Bob, come on up. Quinceanera, Goat Show, and the Republicans. That's a strange combination, right, Phil?
It's called the potpourri of events there.
Yeah, you serve all. Yeah.
Pardon me?
You serve everyone, so.
Well, you try.
Equal opportunity. All right, any
I
questions
just-
for Bob?
Those are not overlapping events, right? The Republicans are not
It's
having a
all
goat.
one big event.
The Republicans are having a goat quinceanera?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good, yeah. Any questions I can answer? Anybody?
Just thank you so much for everything you're doing out there, being so accommodating.
These times great, you know,
And it sounds like now,
interesting ways to make business work.
and it sounds
My
like now
only-
might be a new polling location.
Yeah. My
We'll
own-
work with you, Phil, we'll work with you.
Madam Chair, so my only comment was just, we did receive some feedback from Central District Health about your plan, so just ensuring that you're incorporating those recommendations, both into your work and then the contracts that you set up with
Yep, we're
vendors.
doing that right now, and it was good feedback from them. I think we're 90% on track.
Yep.
That was good for them to
Yeah, that
review
was
that,
good,
and I
yeah.
thank you for letting me do that.
Okay.
Great.
And then we will have another discussion on Thursday. The fair board meeting's on Thursday at 5:30.
We had an event open up this last weekend with the time trials outside.
We did, I drove
Yep.
by there and they were all social distancing, had their mask on, even though the rain helped make that happen, so.
Yeah, I did as well, and everything looked, yeah, very proper.
So
for
we're getting there,
standards.
and we're gonna pick up some sanitizer and stuff today from operations, thank you,
Some extra.
operations, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
Super, okay, I'll entertain a motion then.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the 3 interim event agreements as listed on the agenda and authorize the chair to sign the documents on behalf of the board.
Second?
Have a motion a second. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye, the ayes have it, motion carries. Next up, Parks and
Thank you, Madam
Waterways.
Chairman, Commissioners.
Thank you. Scott here, anyone for Parks and Waterways? Nope, let's go ahead then with the motion.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the 3 Barber Park Education and Events Center agreements as listed on the agenda and authorize the chair to sign the documents on behalf of the board.
Second?
We have a motion a second. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye, the ayes have it, motion carries. Next up, agreements.
Okay, Madam Chair, I move to approve the 5 agreements as listed on the agenda and authorize the chair to sign the appropriate documents on behalf of the board.
Second?
We have a motion a second. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye, the ayes have it, motion carries. Next up, indigent services, and I will need a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to accept the recommendations of indigent services staff as listed on the summary of case dated June 9th, 2020, and authorize the chair to sign the appropriate documents on behalf of the board.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion a second. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye, the ayes have it, motion carries. Next up, procurement. Bob, once again, looks like we have a review of bids and a board recommendation.
Yes, Madam Chair, Commissioners, I'm gonna take my mask off.
Go ahead.
Dying here.
There's on.
We received 2 responses for bid 20051, the Ada County Courthouse Complex Parking Gate Upgrade 2020. And of the 2 responses submitted, the one submitted by Copperhead Electric was non-responsive for not having a public works license. And so by Idaho code, we're not able to accept their bid because they don't have that license. I mentioned that because Copperhead Electric also submitted a protest on the specifications that we had out for the project. they wanted confirmation that the other bidder, Tri-State Electric, included fee computers in their bid. And operations did follow up with Tri-State Electrics, and Tri-State Electrics did include the three point of sale fee computers in their bid. So they did comply with the specifications of what they bid. I followed up with Copperhead Electric to let them know that Tri-State did indeed include that into their bid. And with that, Copperhead Electric was okay with those findings, and they emailed me this morning and have withdrawn their protest.
Okay.
So based on this information, would the board want to proceed going forward with the award recommendation, or would you care to table it?
But those are only 2 respondents?
Well, only one now.
Yeah, just
Right?
one
There's only
respondent.
one.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
Bruce, do you have any comments? Any?
No, I think we're fine with the
Tri-State?
Okay.
And what was their?
What was
bid
their amount?
Amount?
The amount bid by Tri-State was $159,418. If the board's wanting to go forward with the award recommendation, I do have an award letter ready for you.
I'd be fine with that.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
If they haven't withdrawn their protest, then
Yeah, it looks like we've got one good bidder, so.
let's go.
All righty.
Okay,
Well, I'll proceed forward with reading the letter into the record then.
please.
The letter is dated June 9th, 2020, to the Board of Ada County Commissioners from Ada County Procurement regarding bid 20051. Dear members of the board, Ada County Procurement received 2 responses for bid 20051. The following are the names of the bidders and the bid amount submitted. Number 1, Copperhead Electric, non-responsive, no public works license. Number 2 was Tri-State Electric Incorporated in the amount of $159,418. After reviewing the bid submitted, it is the recommendation of the evaluation group to award the contract for bid 20051 to Tri-State Electric Incorporated as the lowest responsive bidder for the total bid amount of $159,418. Sincerely, Bob Perkins.
PP.
You did, yeah, you got that in.
All right, you ready for a motion?
Sure, Madam Chair, I move to take the recommendation of the procurement and award bid 20051 to Tri-State Electric, Inc. in the amount of $159,418.
I will second
We
that.
have a motion and a second. All those in favor state aye.
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 Aye, ayes have it, motion carries.
Thanks, Commissioners.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go into recess. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Good to see you. Good morning. It's Tuesday, June 9th, 2020. The time is 10:05 a.m. and the Board of Ada County Commissioners is in session for our Emergency Medical Services District meeting. We have all three commissioners with us in the room. No one else, it looks like. Any changes to the agenda, Madam Clerk? Okay, I'll take a motion for Claims Journal.
Madam Chair, I move to authorize the payments of the claims as listed on the Claims Journal dated June 5th, 2020 regarding EMS expenditures.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor state aye.
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 Aye, the ayes have it, motion carries. Next up, approval of minutes.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the minutes as identified on the agenda and authorize the chair or acting chair as appropriate to sign the documents on behalf of the board.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor state aye.
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 Aye, the ayes have it, motion carries. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go into recess. Speak now or